Welcome to the second channel and this week's update. It has definitely been one of those weeks of highs and lows, which is, I guess, to be expected. I want to preface what you're seeing on screen right now in the background. This is automation at its finest. It's a process where it is downloading the images, but it's actually also downloading the cards. So we got the card artworks and the actual cards themselves, automatically and assigning them their passcodes. I'll go into more detail about that later, but I wanted to say what was going on in the background. It's mesmerizing to watch. Don't know how it picks the cards. It seems to be extremely random, because you'd think that, it'd just go down through the passcodes and number, but it doesn't. Or maybe it does, but it's got an additional constraint that I don't understand. It's still cool to watch them populate. Regardless, I wanted to talk about the streams, specifically the pipeline for production of the streams. I had a problem, and it was just that the stream preparation took a lot of time. Specifically, there was like 3 hours a week where I was on the wiki, open up the set, and then downloading the card image and artwork as two different things. And they went into separate folders, and the separate folders are used when I make the actual stream. The card artwork goes in the list, and the card itself goes in the slideshow, which is in the corner for the streams. That was a process. It wasn't optimal, and it wasn't just the set. So the 100 cards were the booster, but it'd be all the minor sets that came out between that booster and the next. So things like structure decks, video game promos, special editions, sneak peeks, I think I put with their respective set, because things like a Kawaki Miru Beetle technically came out a little bit earlier because it was the sneak peek promo, but I just put it in with the main set. Regardless, special editions are different. Like, you get additional cards that were on there, like a Vortex Trooper and Phantom of Chaos, I think, are two special edition promos. Don't remember from what sets, but two pretty cool cards, to tell the truth. Anyway, that process took 3 hours of production time each week, and it's been, difficult for that expense. I tried to get the streams out very consistently, and I think I did a pretty decent job last year. But the whole time I realized, or I guess I knew, that I was not doing this in an optimal way, which is okay to say. There's a concept in development called technical debt. And it is this internal conflict between you knowing that you're doing a task in a non-optimal way, but still having additional constraints which prevent you from fixing the problem more permanently. And if you've ever done math problems, occasionally you can find a situation where brute force is faster than the actual longer, more optimized method. But as the problem gets bigger, more complex, or another example, you want to use the more optimized method. It's sort of like that, where I've been using brute force every week instead of working with computer programming, because that is definitely a weakness on my part. It's just one of those things that probably does take 10,000 hours to get really good at, and I just haven't had the ability to dedicate to it. But we got the AI now, and when it works, it is extremely helpful. It is like using power tools. That level of excitement. Like, if you've ever put a screw through sheet metal with a screwdriver and compare that to putting it through with a power drill, it is night and day. It is fantastic. You feel more capable and excited, and you can just do so much more. And then there's the other half, and we'll get to that later. Regardless, the technical debt, I understand that there's a more optimal way to do it, but I don't have the immediate time to deal with it, to use that more optimized method, because it would take resources away from what I was needing to do. And that's part of the reason why this year's theme is optimization, is to slow down a little bit and make sure that I am optimizing things instead of sinking the time in every week. Because 3 hours a week, I've done 30 streams, that's like 100 hours potentially. I do want to note that there are some costs and benefits to switching over to the replica cards. These are from the WiGo Pro API. I think they're way more standardized, which is nice. But you do lose a little bit of the weird charm. Like certain cards have spelling errors. A D-spell has an extra L in it. And one of the ancient gear cards has the word summon misspelled to SMMON. And it hasn't been reprinted since, which I think is really funny. There's also Flame Cerebus, which isn't spelled as Cerberus, and then Judgment has two different spellings when you have Judgment of the Pharaoh or Judgment of Anubis, and then you have the Hand of Judgment. I think the Hand of Judgment has the E on it, while the other two do not. Lots of fun little quirky things about Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's maybe going to be a video one day, just the things I've noticed. The things I've noticed by reading every single card in release order, you know? That is going to get ironed out, and I'm probably still going to have to manually find cards that have had effect changing errata and replace those files specifically. Because I try to lead with the original printing of the cards, so cards like Rescue Cat, Crush Card, Dark Strike Fighter is coming up. Things like that. I try to lead with the original card so that you can see what it was at full power, and then I talk about the errata afterwards. So those are probably going to have to be in a list that I generate. I know most of them, but some of them are really subtle, like Treeborn Frog's errata was just a once per turn. A deserved once per turn and a very niche erratum, to tell the truth. Now, if you Solemn Warning or Solemn Judgment their Treeborn Frog, that's it. It doesn't come back. They can't use it again in the same standby phase, so. That's actually a sort of significant thing, and there's other problems, like you used to be able to bring back your Treeborn Frog, tribute it for enemy control, or take your opponent's monster, bring back your Treeborn Frog again. That was a niche application, but it was a cool application. Making sure that I stick to the errata is something, and minor quirks about the cards. And I hope this isn't going to be a problem going forward, but there might be a little bit sanitized. It's nice that they are so uniform, because the cards on the wiki, I think, are like photographs or scans of cards, and they are not consistent in their placement. They are pretty often askew, so they're not actually rectangles. They are rectangles, they're in a rectangular frame, but they're shifted in subtle ways or warped in ways that make it so that when you try to draw a box with the box tool, the crop tool, it doesn't crop the image correctly, the card artwork correctly, because it's not lined up correctly. To me, this is convenient, but if it is too depersonalized, I might go back on it in the future. Regardless, this is working off a little bit of that technical debt. The pipeline for this is download all the download the API and then use the API to find the passcodes for the cards. Download the artwork and the actual card for it, assign them their passcodes, and then in a second script, take those card passcodes, figure out every time that they were printed, so every set they were printed in, generate a folder for each unique set that has cards in it. Take the cards and the artwork, put them in 2 subfolders within the set folder, and then you have basically the same framework that I was working with setting for the streams, except completely automated pipeline. I think that that's going to help streams more consistency in the future. It was like, I don't know, a 6 to 8 hour automation task to get it to work. And it was not that bad. I got a second script that does something pretty similar. Instead of putting them into folders, though, I just have a list of all the cards in the whole game. And this is something that I could update regularly by just running the script again. And it's slightly future-proofed in a way that it doesn't re-download cards that I already have, which is nice for the server, less server calls. And the idea that I'm going for is to be able to pull up cards on my end for streams. This is when someone in chat says, oh, what about the interaction with this card? And then I have to quickly pull up that card, and the first pipeline, the first strategy with that was not good. It was like Google the card and then quickly download it and then go to the directory where I downloaded it and then show it on stream. And that didn't work so well. And then the other one, the replacement for that was like go to a card database, and I have a browser capture, which was designed to get it. And it was like type the exact name into the browser and then it should pull up that card. But no, the way that the database works, it pulls up the card that contains the text string. So not necessarily in the name. So like try to get Dark Magician, right? And instead it pulls up Dark Magic Attack, which has dark magic. It has Dark Magician in its name and comes before it alphabetically. And that was jank. Sometimes you'd pull up a card and there's only one option, so I had to crop the page differently. And then sometimes there were 2 options and I had to crop the page differently, and then 3 options. And it was juggling between 3 different browser sources, and I'm trying now to get it down to 1, to have everything downloaded locally, and to be able to very quickly access a card, put it into a folder, and have the software, the Streamlabs software, display that as an image overlay. This has been the low point of the week, and tonight, actually. Sorry if the spirits are a little bit lower than they could be. It's just been, 4 hours of frustration working through it, and it is just trying to get the indexing right, trying to rely on the file explorer to get the card is too slow. So I'm working on getting a different software to run and then have an auto hotkey script to swap the card that I'm looking for with this card that I have in reserve. That is the basis, and it's going to be a hot swap where hopefully it swaps out the 2 cards and it makes it easier. I did find a silly issue because one of the cards that I have is like Mushroom Man number 2, and it changed the number sign, the pound sign, the octothorpe into a cent sign because it sanitized card names. And oh man, like the Malice ones are terrible, and like the live evil cards are even worse because they got stars in them. And it's just, how do you print that? How do you put that in your spreadsheet? Why are you doing this, Konami? Don't worry about it. There's been a lot of little technical snafus, just being honest. Anyway, I'm working on the hot swap, and it has just been pulling teeth, and it is incredibly frustrating because I think it's not recognizing the software that I'm using, or the software isn't installed correctly, or it's not in the directory correctly, or it is just borked in one of 15 different ways. And every time I try to fix it, I'm either introducing a new problem that I'll find out later, or I'm not fixing the current problem, and it is just going to be one of those things. It's probably going to be several more hours before I get the hot swapping down. But eventually, the goal is to have less jank in the streams and to be able to quickly reference cards and pull them up and have them on screen and make them uniform and easy to read. Another problem with pulling up the card on stream is it's in the Streamlabs, but it's not on my desktop, so it's really tiny on stream. The stream view that I see is different than the stream output, and it's because I'm broadcasting with both the 4:3, not the 4:3, the 16:9 and the 9:16 aspect ratio, and YouTube says that it's integrated the chat, and it said that 4 months ago, maybe even longer, maybe 6 months ago. But I don't think it actually has. It told me very recently that it does, so maybe it does now, but it's hard. Like, half the chat was showing up, but the other half wasn't, and man, there are lots of little technical problems that I don't want to bother you with. Regardless, some things worked out this week, some things didn't. There's going to be some more work. I'm going to try to streamline the pipeline for streams, make them consistent, be able to come out with them as content without compromising main video production. Because everything is a trade-off, and I feel like last year, very consistent on the streams, didn't get out a single main channel video, which is sad, because all the time was being used, technical debt. There is an opposite problem. It's in a Doshington video. I want to say it's the one on barotrauma, where there's premature optimization also on the other end, where you can spend way more time than you intend to try to get the solution optimized, when you could have had a good enough solution further back. Everything's a trade-off. Regardless, I feel like, victory. Take the hills when you can get them. And a little bit of a valley, but just because I've been knocked down doesn't mean that I've failed. You only fail when you stop trying to get back up again. And I will be getting back up in the morning.